So you know what's interesting is that you have people doing more research for a restaurant than what they would do for either an agent or a lender, you know, whenever they're about to spend about $400,000 on a house.
It's true. I have people who spend hours comparing mortgage lenders instead of looking who can get them to the closing table.
Yeah. I mean, same thing I would say, you know, with realtors. People ask how many homes, you know, that they've sold, rather than asking, you know, the realtor how they're going to help them with that move.
And let's be honest, moving across the country can be very stressful.
Yeah. I mean, especially whenever you start thinking about when you're buying a house, if you've never even seen it in person.
Or trying to choose between multiple lenders you've only even talked on the phone.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever even wondered how many people hire a realtor or a lender and then, you know, think about that like halfway through that process?
Oh, more than you know.
And the crazy part is that most of those regrets, I mean, they could have been avoided, you know, just by asking a few questions. So here's the question. If you are moving to Crestview, Eglin, or Hurlburt, even in the next month, you know, what question would you ask a realtor or a mortgage lender, you know, with the biggest financial that they're about to make? So we're going to give you the exact questions that military families should be asking before they commit to working with anyone. You know, some of these questions will instantly reveal whether that you should be talking to a true relocation expert.
And some of those questions might even save you thousands of dollars and a lot of frustration.
Yeah. So by the way, I'm Tanya Rivera with the Property Group 850.
And I'm Jasmine Frank with University Lending Group.
You know, and if you are planning a PCS move to the Emerald Coast, you know, let's get started with, you know, a question that is number one on my mind. So the question that is on my mind that I think that everyone should be asking their realtor would definitely have to be, how many families have you helped, you know, navigate this PCS move? Like, how many families have you helped with this? I mean, I think that could go with both ways, either a lender or with a mortgage. Instead of just asking, do you work with military families or do you do VA loans? Try to get that exact number. I mean, I think that that's one of the biggest ones for me.
Yes.
Because of not everybody has worked with the military families whenever they're closing loans here.
Yes. Or even if I work on Eglin, where would you as a realtor tell me would be the best location to live or area to be around so that I'm the closest to work?
Another one that I think would be a really good question is going to have to be, what neighborhoods should I avoid if I don't want over a 45-minute commute? I think making that specific time, I don't want over a 25-minute commute to, you know, work, or I don't want over an hour commute to work. Asking your realtor those specific time-based questions is definitely a good one, you know, because I think that militaries care the most about family. So whenever you're cutting off some of that time that they can spend with their family, you know, that starts to play a big factor into their everyday lives.
And you can definitely factor in what surprises military families once they move here. Traffic, tourist, making sure that, you know, if you're in a flood zone, knowing you're in that flood zone, traffic, going to Destin, going over bridges, making sure you hit all of those little concerns so that they are more aware of what they're going to encounter when they're here.
Oh, yes. And school zones. School zones are a big one. You know, whenever they sit there and go in there and they move into a neighborhood and you have like 3 school zones all around you that you're sitting there having to slow down for, you know, which, you know, could really affect your everyday life.
Absolutely. So I have a question for you, being a realtor. Have you ever talked a buyer out of a house?
Oh, that would be a good one to sit there and ask for a realtor. You know, I think that's a great question to ask whenever you are going through it, because of this one really gets attention. Yes. You know, I would sit there and say, if the answer is never, then that's a red flag.
Yes, because you as the realtor should care about the lifestyle and what the client is actually looking for, and not just the surrounding things that may benefit them that might not even work to their advantage.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. How will you help me if I can't physically see homes? Because in our military community, one of the biggest things is that we have to help navigate that situation where they may still be overseas or in another state and can't be here to help them buy that house in person, or they can't see it, or they can't do the walkthroughs, or even, they may have to close remotely. So what is that realtor doing there, or even that lender? How are they involved in this process? If they are not here, are they going to allow them to do the remote close? Is that realtor going to do a video walkthroughs? Are they going to do live FaceTime calls? Is the realtor just going to kind of go through and scan the property just so where you can see it? Or are they really going to go into detail with what's in, the front of the house, what's in the back of the house, what's underneath the sinks, what's in the, all the closets? How does the garage look? Those are big things. Are they going to go through the neighborhood for you? Because that's what you would look at, right?
Yes,
you would go to see what the neighborhood looks at versus just kind of, trusting that video tour on there,
Yes. I feel like this is where having a realtor who truly cares and who is going to advocate for you and be those eyes and look for those things that you are not necessarily seeing in those videos that matter. And having a lender who's truly going to walk you through the process and explaining, if you're overseas, we're probably going to have to mail some paperwork to you. You're going to have to go find you a notary. You're going to have to do a wet signature. And then we're going to have to take it and send it back. So making sure your timelines all align and making sure everybody is truly caring and advocating makes a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. And giving you that honest feedback.
Yes.
I think that honest feedback is really, really big.
Honesty is the best policy.
Right. So another question that I really think, one could ask the realtor, or even on the lender side, I think is, what is the biggest mistake that military families make when moving here? And I think that could go both ways, because of if they're asking that agent or even the lender that, what is that biggest mistake of them moving here? What mistakes are being made?
Being authentic. That's a big mistake. Be authentic, be honest. Let them know, answer their questions truthfully. I feel like that's about it. What's the biggest mistake? Not having somebody who truly cares about the process and giving you all the ins and outs and just rushing through it. Oh, this is the house. Well, there you go. Bye. And then they hate it.
Right. Another question that I think that people could really ask is, if this were your family, where would you buy? And I think that kind of goes in turn of, could you ask that question? Could that realtor answer that question? Because of, this question could really change everything for somebody, is where would that agent or that lender buy? Because of, it forces authenticity, but at the same time, a realtor really has to watch whether that they would be steering somebody in by answering that in one direction or another.
I think that's where it's important to really pay attention to what the client truly wants and what their lifestyle is calling for. Are they people who want to be on the beach all the time? So maybe choose something more closer to the beach. Are they somebody who wants to go to the beach but wants more inland, to have to drive there, where it's not an everyday thing having to deal with the tourist traffic? So it's very important to get to learn your client, to know exactly what it is they're looking for and what they're wanting.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%. I think another question would be, is what is something that I haven't asked that maybe I should be asking? Like, could a realtor really be giving you all of these questions up front? Do they have a list of questions that maybe you should be asking? I think that would really set somebody up for success, because of what are some questions that has really helped other individuals buy. Same thing for a lender, something along those lines.
misinformation, I think, is the biggest thing. The common myths, that people think it's something like, for example, you need a 20% down if you've got the VA loan. No, you really don't. It all, eligibility, everybody's case is different.
Yes. So I think another question, and I do get this question a lot for Crestview, is what is the biggest complaint that people have after moving here? What do you think that surprises some of the people once they move here and then they're like, oh,
the amount of traffic.
I didn't say we're answering. No. But seriously, that is a good question because of whether you're moving to Niceville, Fort Walton Beach, Crestview, or anywhere local to this area and you're PCSing. One of the biggest questions that you should be asking your realtor is, what is the biggest mistake that people ask? Same thing, for neighborhoods if they know anything, or the different sides of town.
Yeah.
Type deal.
Or even like, what do families wish they would have known before moving here? I feel like everybody wants to avoid making the same mistakes, so why not ask those questions?
Oh, yeah. Or what is the area that people move away fastest? Whenever you sit there and have somebody that may buy in a new build area and then they sell their house 6 months later, they're not moving away from the area per se, but they're getting out of that neighborhood. Is there a neighborhood that sells faster than others? Maybe something that you want to look at.
Yes. Or even what costs catch most military families off guard, whether it be HOA fees, utilities, maybe they're not used to the cost of these specific utilities, home insurance. If you're in a flood zone, you're going to have flood insurance. Some of these things are not thought about and they're important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Another one would probably be, what should I do before I start looking at homes? I mean, besides getting pre-approved.
Yeah.
But
talk to me.
Yeah. What should I do before I start looking at homes? Because I feel like there's so much more than looking at homes that I feel like this is a good question as far as what you can do before that process even starts.
And as a military family, if you have the opportunity to come and spend a weekend here, it's very important to speak with your realtor about where should I be looking first? What area do I need to really focus on? What's the most important areas to be looking in? And I feel like that's important because that one weekend is going to either make or break your decision on where you're moving.
Oh, yes. So like if you sit there and say that you come in on a Friday, you fly in on Friday, I would tell you to take that Friday afternoon to drive the different areas and see. And do it on an afternoon, on a weekday afternoon, and then see which areas that you like the best. Then take that and, okay, well, I like Niceville the best, or I like Crestview the best. Then take that Saturday morning to start exploring that area more, because of you may like the north side versus the south side better, or Destin, you might like the east side versus the west side better. So really playing into that factor of take your time to get to know that area, or if you're not here and you're PCSing and you're doing this remotely, have the realtor really, really help give you places to find the reviews on those areas.
Yes.
So there's plenty of Facebook, groups and stuff like that they can invite you to.
So my question for you, what questions do military families ask too late?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one. And I would probably have to say a lot of it would have to do with the neighborhoods that they move into.
How safe are they?
Well, no, not just how safe, because a realtor, ethically can't give you that answer, but they can push you into the right direction to find that answer right there. Yes. But another one would definitely have to be, is what is, one of the things that Google can't tell you about living here.
Yes.
Being born and raised here, there's a lot of stuff that I know about Crestview that versus what another realtor who just moved into the area might not know. Or if that realtor is not local to the area, that they may not know. Because if they just moved here, they live in Destin and they're selling, a house, they may not know as much versus, hey, the high school's right here. We have 6 elementary schools. We've got 2 going on 3 middle schools here. This is where your kids might like. This is the sports that this school has. This school has this sports. This one has this band program. Those are some of the things that local realtors really, really have the knowledge of that you could be asking that really helps your family.
Yes. And that's, I feel like, what makes people love living here, the sense of community, the way everybody helps each other, and having those local real estate agents or these local lenders who know the area and who can give you the information that you need to succeed here.
Absolutely. So another one that I think could play on the buying or the realtor side or even the lending side is what stresses the customer out the most. Like, asking a realtor or a lender, hey, in this process, what is going to stress me out the most? Because if that lender or that realtor knows, they're going to be able to help you because they should already have ways to fix that problem before it even comes into play.
Before it's even a problem, before you even know it's a problem.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. If you would like a full list of what questions that you should be asking your realtor, go ahead and make a comment in the comments below. And either myself or Jasmine here would love to send you a copy of our guide. That way that you know what to ask. And this can pertain to our area here in Florida or anywhere that you are PCSing to.
Absolutely.
Have a good day. I'm Tanya Rivera with the Property Group 850.
And I'm Jasmine Frank with University Lending Group.
And we would love for you to like, subscribe, and comment below.